Here we are. It is November, what's the date? 15th, 2024. And as you can see, I'm out of my usual spot. I'm up in New Hampshire for a few days, doing some winter prep work and getting things done. Got some trees to cut down tomorrow. Things to do. At any rate, it's been sort of a busy week in the Asian art world, over in the UK in particular. Drew Eats had their sale. We're going to get into the results there. They had a very good 2-day sale that we talked about previously that was coming up. It was a nice auction. They got some very, very good results, and it seemed to be well attended. But before I get into it, I wanted to talk about something because I got an email the other day from Irv Graham. Yeah, he's a dealer. A lot of you know him. He's over in the UK, and he sent me an email because he had followed up. He had done a piece on his website, and I'm going to link it below, about the deposit requirements that are starting to turn up in the UK and why. And he gives an extremely cogent, logical answer as to why, and why, as legitimate buyers in the West, as collectors and dealers, you should sort of welcome it. I know it's a bit of a nuisance to have to put up deposits on some things. Some things you don't. You can do it on live auctioneers a little bit. You don't need to put up any money. I had registered there for a few things, got one thing, and I'll talk about that in another video. But the bottom line is that they are sort of forced into it. They don't have much choice. Otherwise, they're going to sell things for large amounts of money and never get paid. And that's simply the way things are right now with a lot of buyers in China. As everybody knows who has sold anything on eBay or dealt with auction houses will tell you, the Chinese buyers have a group of them that are just manipulators and deadbeats. They don't pay their bills. They're trying to profit off of auctions by buying something. I've talked about this many times before. They buy something and then they try to pre-sell it before they have to pay the invoice. If they can't pre-sell it, they just walk away from the invoice. They just walk away. They don't pay their bill. And this is something that's been going on for 20 years there. And why auction houses even allow them to register in many cases is beyond me. You may recall a couple of years ago, it's probably 10 years ago at this point, Sotheby's and Christie's began putting large deposit requirements, especially on premium lots, for this very reason. Because they were tired of getting stiffed. And there was a very famous case of a collector over in China who owed the two auction houses around $20 million, as I recall, from previous purchases. He just wouldn't pay it. And when his representatives went to another preview, I think it was at Sotheby's, they were told they would not be allowed to register unless they had a check. And the guy paid the bill within hours. All right, so this is just the manipulation that takes place with certain collectors. Most Chinese collectors are great people. I have a lot of them for customers. They pay their bills. They're honest. Even if they overpay, they still pay because they have the obligation. But there are a lot of them who don't. And this 5,000 at Drew Eats, a 5,000 pound deposit on lots, I think is a perfectly reasonable expectation. And Irv goes into it in some detail. He's been around a long time. He's very keyed into what's going on in the Chinese auction market. And do check his site out. He's got a nice site. He's a very nice man, and so forth. And there it is. All right, now on to something else that was brought to my attention. These bowls. Some of you probably are looking these. These are at Zeus Veilingwies over in Middelburg in the Netherlands. And I had an inquiry about these from one of my regular. He's a very sharp collector. And he sent me an inquiry about these bowls. And I hadn't really looked at them very carefully because I just assumed they were fakes. And they are fakes. And I'm saying that they have a 30 to 40,000 pound or euro estimate. That's a $31,000 opening bid in U.S. currency. And he asked me what I thought of them, and I took a very, very good look at them, and a bunch of things jumped out at me, and I want to explain why, because these bowls are very illustrative of just how good the fakery market and the Republic period copies that were made are. All right, this is a great case in point, and I'm going to pull up an image of the bottoms of the bowls. There they are. And you'll notice something, these little red things. This was done by my inquirer. He went and he started looking at the images. I sent him back a reply through the inquiry service, and I said, I have some real doubts about the age of these bowls. There's something very, very wrong with them. And for a whole lot of reasons, a whole lot of very suspicious reasons. And then he started to examine them, and he stood them up and began looking at them. And you'll notice these little red arrows that he added. This is something he did to show something really strange about these bowls. You'll notice the script. These are Daoguan marks. Now, in the listing, they don't say they're Daoguan. They talk about the poem that's written on the back. There's an extensive amount of script, but pay very close attention to this. The alignment of the seal to the decoration shifts. They should all be the same. Furthermore, the alignment to the seal to the interior view of the bowl should be in perfect alignment. In other words, if there's a unidirectional image on the inside of the bowl, when you look at the rain mark on the bottom and you flip it over, you should be looking at the design. If it's a deer or something walking in the woods, it should be upright and vertical in front of you. It shouldn't be tipped off to the side or anything like that. It should be right there. So you take the bowl, you flip it and look, and the image inside the bowl should be in alignment with the rain mark on the back of the bowl. And this is not the case in this. And every one of these is going in a different cockeyed direction. You have one going off center here a little. You have another one going off center there. You have this one that's way off to the left. And here you have this one that's fairly straight up, but slightly off. It shouldn't even be that much. And here you have one where it's slightly down. All right. And when you see this, you should run for your life. These are fakes. And I don't know whether they were fakes made in the Republic period or they were copies that were made more recently. They're probably Republic fakes, but they're certainly not worth $30,000 or $40,000. They're worth maybe $800 or $900 a piece as Republic examples, if that's what they are. But whenever you see 5 identical bowls in one lot that have Daoguan marks and this kind of estimate, because the implication is with the 30 to 40,000 euro estimate that these are Daoguan, not Daoguan, excuse me, Chai Ching period bowls. These are not Chai Ching period bowls. All right. These are either from the 1915 to 1930s, or they were made sometime in the last 25 years. All right, and I'm beyond that. I'm not that interested. But what they did was the auction house either didn't look at them carefully or didn't think about it carefully, or just took the consignor's word for it, or who knows. I've never done business with this auction house, so I don't know anything about their ethics. But whoever does their auction listings in Asian art has an ethical problem, because anybody with just a few years of experience would recognize that these bowls are not okay. There's something very, very, very wrong with them, and they should not have been taken. And then the other thing that was very interesting was that on the backs of the bowls, he went through the calligraphy, and he talks about a poem by Zhu Bulu that's illustrated on here. And you'll notice that the character marks and the way they're done, there's some real inconsistent stuff going on here, and that also was a problem. And there's absolutely nowhere of any kind to any of the gilding, which for a pair of Chai Ching bowls, that is pretty much impossible. And you're looking at these, and they have Chai Ching marks. And the calligraphy, the gilding is absolutely perfect everywhere on all 5, on all 5 bowls. And when you see something that's this good, too good to be true, you want to be very, very suspicious. But always think about the alignment of the rain marks. They get it right sometimes with copies. They do put them in properly at times. But when they're this far off on each bowl, it is a very, very serious problem. And what I was talking about before, the interior of the bowl, I'm assuming they're going to have pictures of these. There you go. There you go. There's the bowl. There's this. Okay, this is a directional interior. You have the bat with the pendant hanging down. And when you look at that, if you flip that over right there and look at the mark should be right in front of you. And I'm going to be willing to bet you that it's probably not. And it should also align perfectly with the script that's all over the back of the bowl. All right, these bowls have all this script on them. This should also align perfectly. All right, these bowls were, when they were done authentically in the period, they were very carefully thought out. The layouts were very carefully thought out. Where the script was very precise, where the rain mark was put was very precise, and how it aligned to the interior decoration of the bowl was also very, very precise on all of them. And in this one, not one of them is. So if you have these on your watch list, be very careful, because this is a pile of fakes, and they're not claiming in the description they have any age at all. They talk about the poem that's on there. There's a very famous one, the maxims for managing the home. And on the inner side, there are two Chinese characters of the family Lai, marked with a seal mark of Jai Jing. At the end of the calligraphy, it is written Jai Jing, and then they give some information and so forth. No, here they're saying they are of the period. Oh, wait a minute. Jai Jing mark and period. Okay. That's not true, frankly. These are reproductions, and these are 20th century copies, and I doubt they're going to sell. I'd be shocked if they did, because anybody that collects high-end Qing ceramics are going to look at these and immediately discount them as copies. All right, later copies, either early 20th century or later 20th century. The chips to the feet make me think it's probably Republic, but it doesn't matter. They're not what they think they are. The whole lot is probably worth around $2,000 or $3,000 as Republic bowls, and that's all there is to it. All right, so I hope that was. If you need to listen to that section again, go ahead. It's a little hard to express what to look for at times, but I told my inquiry guy, and he agreed. He's quite astute with this stuff. We sort of talk back and forth on pieces on a regular basis, and he had some real doubts after he looked at the bottoms of these bowls, and he's been collecting for a while. So there we go. All right, now, results. This was the Druid sale. They had a good sale. They had a wonderful sale, and a lot of people took part in it. I left a bunch of bids. I got one thing, a very nice Japanese piece of Rita-ware, but other than that, I didn't get anything. This lot, these photographs of China and Japan that I talked about last week, they had this absolutely amazing photograph, this wonderful, crisp, black and white photograph of the Chinese gentleman on this veranda. This lot did quite well, ended up selling for £1,100 plus premium. So that's basically $1,400 plus premium, or about $1,800. And I think that's reasonable. That's sort of the price range I think we talked about when we did the preview. And then, before we go any further, I just wanted to touch on this quickly. This was the Ollers and Ogletree memorial dish. That was a very big one. This was sold originally by Moog down south, and it was a big dish. This thing was what was it? It was 18 inches in diameter. It was a very, very big dish. They gave it a big estimate, and I didn't think the estimate was at all unreasonable, but it got up into the low estimate with the buyer's premium and ended up at about $6,000. The estimate was $5,000 to $10,000, but this was a very, very rare bird. 18-inch European armorial export wares do not turn up very often. And this was a very, very nice example. So I hope one of you got it. I really do. And then back over to the Druid sale. We talked about this last week. There was this big soapstone carved Eight Immortals Jardiniere. I thought this thing was outstanding. I thought this was really a wonderful big carving. I don't think it's terribly old. I think it's probably a 19th century one, late 19th century, but wonderfully done with a very nice stand. The stand is worth $1,000. The stand is excellent. The stand is absolutely excellent. And the carving was very, very good. It looked like it had a tin liner and so forth, which they often did with these big pieces. But this piece was very, very big. You have to realize how big this was. It was 65 centimeters wide, so it was 25 inches wide. This is a big piece of carved soapstone. And it was only estimated at $400 to $600. And it ended up selling, as you can see, for $3,297 plus premium. So it ended up over $4,000, but a really terrific example. And I'm glad it did well. It deserved to do well. And then hopping along over to this, there was the Kangxi Taoist Immortals jar, very, very nice piece, about 13 inches tall, estimated at £6,000 to £8,000, ended up selling for £6,000 to £8,000, ended up selling for £6,500 plus premium, or around, getting up around $8,000 for it. So the estimate was right in the range. It's a good estimate. Very, very attractive piece of Kangxi. Very, very white body, beautiful decoration, very fluid decoration. I liked the way the immortals were done, and it did just fine. And then over to this was sort of not a terrible surprise, but it was a fairly rare thing. A pair of Kangxi dishes with ladies on them with script. And these were estimated at $4,000 to $6,000. They went a good bit over that, about 9,000 pounds plus premium. So about $11,000 for the pair. But we've seen these before, and they always do well. These pictorial bowls with ladies, a Kangxi period, with script. Without the script, these bowls are worth about half of that. But with the script, it really pushes up the price. And it's a pair. and pears are hard to come by. And these were very, very nice. They were apparently sold in Monaco in 1990. They measured 8 inches in diameter and sold for, 11,000 US plus premium, so around $15,000. So they went a good bit over the estimate. They did very well. And then on to this, the watercolors of the birds. I like these a lot. I talked about them last week. I thought they were really, really wonderful. And they did fine in the end. They actually went over estimate. They ended up selling for 1,900 pounds plus premium, or around $2,800. But they're worth it. These are very, very nice pictures. And you don't see them, these watercolors of birds very often on these large sheets. And somebody, I'm sure, was going to get these framed up and make a room out of them. They'd be wonderful. They'd be terrific. Nice objects. And then over to this cloisonne, they called it a holy water vase. This form is actually interesting. Some of you may have seen it in porcelain before, done in iron red. And it was a type of a stick that they made, a candlestick basically, for Buddhist monks during the Qianlong period. And Qianlong had these made. Originally, this form was done in porcelain with iron red decoration. And when monks came to visit him, he would give them one of these as a special gift, as a tribute gift to the monk, because it was very important for the emperor to show fealty to the religion, and they made them. And here was one that was in cloisonne, which I thought was pretty fascinating. You don't see these very often. And it's exactly the same, pretty much, as the porcelain example, but done in this way. It does appear to be an 18th century example, quite rare. And I don't think it was an overpayment at all. 4,000 plus premium, or around probably $5,800. The porcelain examples are worth anywhere for 45 to 60,000. These are also very, very nice. They dated them as 18th century, which I think is correct. And do they give any background on it? Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here about them. Yeah, okay. You can go down and read it if you want, if you're interested. But at any rate, I thought they were terrific. They were all of these were on the global pages, all these items. And then over to this, that lovely little cinnabar box I talked about last week. I just thought it was charming. Well, apparently everybody thought it was charming. And it was estimated at 1,000 to 1,500, which I thought was more than, as I said, it was more than reasonable. And it ended up going right through that, up to 2,800 pounds, or 3,500 US plus premium, bringing it in at around, that's around $4,000 US, close to it. But a very, very, very nice box. Beautifully carved. Love the dragon coming down. He's reaching out, feeding it something here. It looks like he's holding a piece of coral almost, or something with a flame coming out of it, or the pearl. Maybe it's the pearl of perfection. You have to look at it more closely. But at any rate, it was a very, very nice piece of lacquerware. Deserved the price it brought, and did just fine. And then over to this, the carved bamboo brush pot. This thing would have done probably done another $2,000 had they oiled the thing. This thing got stripped. This was a very, very nice brush pot. But if you look in here, you see little white areas. And that, I bet, is wax. And at some point, it had been waxed a bunch of times, and somebody stripped the wax off, because there's no patina left on this at all. It could come back. If you ever get a brush pot that looks like this, you can oil it with lemon oil or wax and feed by Howard's, or any number of products, and you do it gently over time, and you can build that patina back up with bamboo. It's particularly amenable to that. But this thing, I think the fact that it was so stripped looking, I think it hurt the piece. And sometimes people clean brush pots. Don't ever use soap on a brush pot. Don't ever, ever, ever. If you need to, just a damp paper towel to wipe off anything that's on there. But this area here, I've seen this before when people have cleaned them, and it just strips out the oil, because bamboo is quite porous. And this was a beautifully carved pot, and it was a shame that happened to it. But anyway, it did. It was estimated $1,000 to $1,500, and it sold for 2,000 pounds rather. Sold for 2,000 pounds, which is a very good price. I think I would have brought 4 to 6. It had better color, because it would show off the really good carving on this thing. It appears to be a late 18th, early 19th century example. Beautifully done, very three-dimensional. And any rate, it brought $2,500 plus premium, or around $4,000. But as I said, I think it would have brought a good bit more had it been treated a little more respectfully before it was put up for photographs. All right, and then onto this, the Silk Dragon panel. Somebody got a good buy. This was a great buy. 800 euros for this. Or a Ming Dynasty dragon fragment. This was a very, very nice thing. Had good colors. It was interesting. I liked this sort of tea dust green, brownish ground around it. And then these wonderful salmon pinks and so forth. Very, very attractive in yellows. 800 pounds plus premium, about $1,300 US, including premium. It was a good thing to buy. And this was also another good thing to buy. This was that 4-panel set, table frontals, as they called them. 2 of them had better color than the other 2. It's pretty obvious. The one in this photograph, for example, the upper row is decidedly less bright in color than the bottom row. And it's probably because these 2 were exposed to sunlight for a little while at some point in their lives. And that's what happens to them. Chinese silk is very, very much affected by sunlight, even small amounts on a daily basis, just a little bit, and over time it sucks the color out. All the color gets sucked out except for the blue. The blue doesn't fade. You can have a Chinese textile that had many, many, many colors in it, and all you can see that's left is blue, unless you open it up and look on the back, and then you can see yellows and greens and other things. But all of those are susceptible to light fade. Blue is not. But this was a very nice set, and it ended up selling for 1,600 pounds plus premium, which was above the high estimate slightly, coming in at around about $2,300 or so. And then over to this, the rank badge, the military badge, a 6-rank badge, early 19th century from what I can see. This was a nice badge. Very nicely done, nice waves, good patterns. I think this was the most expensive rank badge. I'm not positive. I think it was. And it sold for $2,400 US, or plus premium around $3,200. But a nice badge for a collector. A very good example. And then over to this, the big Guangzhou iron underglazed red dragon charger. And I talked about this last week because I'd seen one that was virtually identical. It may even be the same one that sold in New Hampshire almost 20 years ago at Northeast Auctions. And at that auction, I believe it sold for about $50,000 then. And I commented last week when I saw this, and I thought, well, it should bring easily the estimate because it was only 20 to 30,000 pounds, and it ended up blowing the estimate away and coming in with buyer's premium at about $140,000 US. So way over the estimate of 30,000 pounds. But this is sort of what happened at Northeast when it was sold, one of these was sold. Everybody thought, oh, it's going to bring $8,000 or $10,000 maybe, and it brought 50, and then it ended up in New York, and then it ended up in another sale, and it's popped up here and there with the Northeast Auctions provenance. So maybe this is a different one, but it's virtually identical, very, very similar, and sold for 88,000 pounds this time around, or $111,604 plus 30%. I believe that's their premium, isn't it? 31%. Yikes. 31%. So there you are. So yeah, 140,000. All right, but a rare thing, a very rare thing, and bang. And then this, the Dewa group of the Urkshan, the 2 boys, the little ho-ho boys here. There they are. These are very nicely done, very artistically done, very animated. I like them a lot. You notice that the hand gestures, the facial expressions, the way the robes are folded over, and the 2 of them sort of hanging out together, laughing, having a good time. Very, very nice piece of blanc de chine. Very, very attractive. Good, almost like comrades. Here's the bottom of it, and so forth. There's a date on there. What's it say? February 28th, 1941. That must be the day they got it, or got it from somebody, and they put a mark on it. And they dating in the 17th or 18th century. The 2 Harmony twins here. They sold for $9,500 US plus the premium, so about $12,000 for the pair, which was considerably over the estimate, which was only 1,000 to 1,500 pounds. Ended up selling for around 10,000 pounds with the premium. So it did very, very well. But we've noticed lately some blanc de chine pieces are doing quite well. And I've commented on that because years ago the Chinese wouldn't buy blanc de chine because of the color, superstition surrounding the color. And in the last 10 or 15 years, there's been an appreciation for the stuff, and it seems like the prices are coming back a bit. which is good. It deserves to. And then there was this very nice jade brush rest that was in the sale. There was a lot of discussion about what this was. Is it Tang or is it Han? Is it this? Is it that? They didn't. They're just saying it was Tang style. Well, apparently the audience disagreed. They thought it was probably Tang. Because it ended up selling for 15,000 US dollars against or 12,000 pounds against a 1,500 to 2,000 pound estimate. And with the premium, that's about about 15,000 pounds, I guess, right up there, 15,500 pounds, or about $18,000. But it did very, very well. Had a nice color and so forth. If any of you went to see this, saw this, and you know anything about jade, let me know what you thought of it, because it was a bit of a surprise. The auctioneer was looking very shocked during the sale. I checked in it a couple of times, and I checked in when this one was being sold, and the auctioneer kept looking over at it like, "Whoa, here we go." So there we are. All right, and then on to the Beijing glass bottle, translucent blue, very, very pretty bottle. It was, how big was this thing? 8 inches tall, sapphire. Well, I don't think it's really sapphire blue. I'd call it more aqua blue, but it had Shin Lung mark on the bottom, which does make a difference. And people apparently accepted the mark as authentic. It sold for 6,800 pounds plus premium, or around about $9,000, which is right for that. This was a very nice example, very pretty blue. Really, really attractive color in that classic shape that you see on 18th century bottles, long neck bottles in Beijing glass, and they're always very, very thick. If you look down at the top, you'll see that they're about that thick. The glass is very thick in most cases. At any rate, it did fine. And then over to this, this was the last thing, the Kangxi vase, 100 boys vase. This was also a very nice thing. It sold for 3,200 pounds. I think that was perfectly reasonable. Had some hairlines around the neck, as I recall, but with the premium and so forth, it would have come in at about $4,500 to $5,000. Nice looking piece of ceramic, though. And you don't see the 100 boys pattern that often on vases. You see it on boxes and other things, on bowls, but not very often on vases. So it made it sort of interesting. All right, now, what else is going on here? Some eBay stuff's happening. And I'm going to take a little point of privilege here on something that happened to me. And I'm fairly furious about this. I won this lot from a dealer over in the UK. And he had listed it as Kangxi Qinlong large charger, dish, river, willow tree decoration, and so forth. And it isn't obvious. This is a piece of Japanese Arita ware. Here's the back of it, the spur marks and all this stuff. It was about 12 inches in diameter. It's a nice early 18th century example. I really liked it. I like the bamboo. I like the way the trees were done. It's either 17th or early 18th century. And I bought the thing, and I left a pretty good bid on it. And I ended up getting it, I thought, very fairly for $130 plus shipping. And he had a note on the account saying, wait for the invoice to be finished. So I said, okay. And I waited a little bit, and I would check back. And the invoice was there with the shipping amount on it of, $30 US or something. That was the rate according to the Royal Mail. I paid it. Well, I didn't pay much attention after that. I was out of the house for a few days. I was doing things. I was busy. I had a couple of doctor's appointments this week and things. So, at any rate, I didn't notice. He apparently had emailed me or messaged me asking me to pay more for the shipping, and I didn't see it. And he wanted an extra $25 for shipping. I think it was $30. And I didn't see it. I didn't respond to it. And just a few hours ago, but I was getting this ready, I checked to see if it was in transit, and it said the transaction was canceled. This guy is a weasel. That's all I'm going to say. I think he was unhappy with the price that it brought. His seller name is Tops for China. He sells a lot of English china and French porcelain and so forth. He doesn't know anything about Asian ceramics, evidently, because a child that's been collecting for any more than a year, Asian art would know right away based on the back that this is a piece of Arita ware. And he didn't, and I think he felt like he didn't get enough money for it, so he was trying to juice it a little bit by getting some extra shipping out of me. And when he didn't hear from me, he just canceled the transaction without another word, rather than doing the right thing, which would have been to ship it and say, listen, it ended up costing me more than I thought. Could you help me come out a little more even here? And I'd do it. I'd send him $20 or something. I don't care. But the fact that he would just sort of unilaterally cancel the transaction without making sure I'd even seen his messages, and I did follow his instructions because down here you have please wait for invoice. So with the lot closed, I went back after a little while and the clicked the thing and the invoice was there. I paid it. That's it. And I don't think he understands how eBay works very well, or he doesn't know how to do listings very well, because if he had calculated this is why calculating is so important. When you calculate the weight and size of the box you intend to use, usually these shipping estimates are fairly accurate, provided you pick the right type of shipping. All right. So at any rate, that's what happened. And now the piece is back up again. And by the way, this last time he put it up, the bidding started at £9. And I think I was the first person to bid on it, and I was the last person to bid on it. There it is. I put a bid in 2 days before it closed, actually well above what it sold for, because I wanted to get it. That's all. This is a personal thing for me. I collect this stuff, and I left him a very negative piece of feedback. But this is the plate. It's back up. It ends in 2 days. He did a 6-day sale or a 7-day sale with it when he didn't hear from me within a few hours, I guess. And he put it up this time with a starting price now of not $9, but of £79 or $102. He has 0 bids, and it may not sell. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But he's got the same shipping rate as he had before. He still has the $27 shipping rate, and it still says, please wait for invoice. What he doesn't seem to understand is as soon as the slot closes, within 2 seconds, there's going to be an invoice ready. All right, and he needs to get his act together. But at any rate, tops for China. I don't know what to tell you. Takes all kinds. I left him very negative feedback because I don't appreciate this kind of stuff. It's just wrong. We've had mistakes in shipping. We ship it for the agreed amount. That's all there is to it. Even if we lost money on the shipping, we've shipped things. We had a package. Well, we had a package we sent to Australia once. I didn't realize this was early on. I didn't realize the shipping limitations on packages going into Australia. And instead of the shipping costing $129, it cost me $645, and I paid it. And I lost $300 on the transaction. But that was what I told the man. That's what he was betting on, and that was it. And we found out later that the piece was too big to go in because they have a box inch limitation to going to Australia. Many of you are familiar with it. So anyway, we got caught in that, and that's okay. We lick our wounds and go on. But what this guy did was just plain sleazy. All right, and then over here you have this 123 Jump China had this nice little, I think it was probably a snuff tray or an opium tray or something. Famille Rose, 19th century. I liked it a lot. Sort of a rare form, had a little lotus pad on the side. This wasn't a big deal, but it did well. It brought $383. So there you go. And then over here to this. This was a very, very nice piece of 18th century porcelain, probably Kangxi period from what I could see, that had been mounted as a lamp probably in the 1930s or something, 1920s. The mounts on it are exceptional. This was a very attractive package. It would make a great table lamp. And somebody picked it up, I think, very, very fair price, $868. That was a good thing. That was a good, solid type. And we've had very similar examples to this over the years. And this is the range they bring. They always bring that. And then this actually made it through the eBay gauntlet. Very nice piece of China trade ivory. This was being sold by Vintage Art. God bless him, in Philadelphia. He put this up, and I bookmarked it. I often don't bookmark ivory card cases because they end up getting taken down because some do-getter reports them for it during the sale, and they get the thing taken down, which is ridiculous. This is a beautiful piece of antique ivory, obviously, and wonderfully carved. As you know, I have a number of these. I like this one a great deal, and I think somebody got a really good buy on it, $320. That's a very nice piece of Cantonese ivory carving. Very, very nice quality, lots of details, and it looks to be in very good condition, good color, not dried out. So everything you want in a piece of ivory, $320. So it was a good thing. And then over to this. This is coming up. This is one of our regular users here, and he's got this. And if you know anything about the Shibata books and early Japanese Arita and rare forms, this is it. And this is in the Shibata book. It's a 17th century piece of Arita ware. They made them this way with the creases, and I think he included it. I'm pretty sure he did. I think that's where I saw it. There you go. Here it is. That's the Shibata book. If you know about Shibata, you know what I'm talking about. And there's the dish right there. Or one very nearly identical one. These are extremely high quality porcelains, and they can be deceiving because they can look like they're brand new. This is the problem with some of these. They slip through and people say, oh, it's new. This is not. This piece was made about 1680, 1670, somewhere in that time period. It's beautifully decorated. He's put it up with just a starting price of $12 and so forth. I will be bidding on this. I'm being honest. I like this a lot, and so forth. But it's, outbid me. That's all. I think it'll do quite well. It's a beautiful piece of porcelain, and if you do get it, tell me you got it. I'm not going to hold it against you. It doesn't bother me at all. I lose things to other people every day, it seems, but that's okay. I was very happy to see it, and I was very happy to see this guy got it to sell. It's a very, very nice piece of porcelain. Extremely nice. Very good. All right. It'll be on the newsletter page. All these pieces here will be on the newsletter page this week. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be on the newsletter page this week, by the way. So do check that out. All of this stuff will be gone by then. There's some pieces that haven't closed from last week that we'll have to remove and so forth, but it'll all be updated by the time this video appears because there's some good things on here, and then there are more good things to add. So there we go. All right. Now, the Kangxi dish, this is a good Kangxi dish. It's a pattern we've seen before. If you like Kangxi wares, this is a good one. This particular seller, Roy Johnson Antiques, I don't know him. That name seems unfamiliar to me, but he's in trades it in the UK. He seems to get good things. And we've got a bunch of his items that'll be on the newsletter page this week. And then the Ming Bronze Foo Dog. I like this a lot. 17th century. It looks fine. This is Stubbsy Wubsy has this. And as you know, he gets good things. This is a nice looking Foo Lion. This is the dad with his hand on the male with the hand on the ball, and so forth. Nice looking little bronze. How big is this? It's probably pretty small, probably 3 inches or so. 4 inches tall. They're usually not terribly big, but this is a nice one, and it has a good undisturbed patina. Notice the color, that warm cocoa brown. It almost looks sticky. It's thick. That nice old surface. This is a good thing. It's up to $42. It should sell for $500 to $800, somewhere in there. And back to Joni's. Their stuff is closing up in a few days. And one of the things I didn't. Somebody I got a number of inquiries about some of the Joni's listings, and I went back through it. I pulled out a couple of more things that we can put in the newsletter page as we head toward the close. But there's a lot of stuff in there I have some real doubts about. All right. So if it's not on the newsletter page, it means I have some doubts about the age. There's a pair of Claire de Lune Yongchen mark vases that to me look to be modern. And there's a few other pieces, some blackware, Hanan wares, and so forth that have seal marks on them that are not right, and so forth. So you want to be always, when we put things on the newsletter page in general, we're saying these are okay, these are reasonable, these are antique. We don't always agree necessarily 100% with the dating. We may think it's older or maybe a little bit more recent, but in general, the direction the seller is going in is okay enough to include it. And you do have to know a little bit of what you're doing, but to buy. But this is a good-looking transitional jar of Shunji period. They're saying Ming Wan Li to Shunji. Now this is late Shunji to transitional Shunji in that period. But it's a nice jar. I'm not going to quibble about 10 or 20 years either way. It's a good-looking pot. Should sell for $1,800 to $2,500. And then over to this seller, Yush. I don't know who this is. I've never seen this seller before either. They only have 29 feedbacks. They're in Atlanta, Georgia, but they have some nice porcelains, and they have this very unusual 18th century lotus bowl with the pod back on it right there. And this is going to be on there. It's up to $153. It's got a few hours to go. It closes tonight. It's $750. So if you're watching this at 5 or 6 o'clock, get over there if you want to bid on it. He's got a bunch of things up. All right. So that's sort of it for the for the week. We're looking around. We're trying to see if there are any new auctions have popped up. So far, there haven't been any. It's been sort of quiet, I think, between Halloween and Thanksgiving. There's not a lot going on. The British sales have sort of wrapped up by now, and there'll be some sales coming up in Hong Kong and is in the next 2 months after the new year. In December, there will be very little going on over there in any of the auction houses. They typically get very, very quiet during the month of December. They've had their fall sales. They've had the UK has had their late fall sales, as they always do. And I have to say, overall, I think the British sales were quite successful this year. Rosebery's had a very, very good sale. Placus would have had a great sale had the imbecilic consignor not withdrawn his lots. And then Druid's had a very good sale. So it shows there's some good life in the market. I think the prices have modified a bit. There's no doubt about that. But I don't see, anything approaching the free fall that some people were predicting a while ago because of the Chinese economy. The Chinese economy is not great right now, as everybody knows. I don't think it's the end of days for them. I just think they need to get their act together and get back to doing business. And they have some headwinds as far as debt goes. But a lot of countries do, and that's part of bad management. But at any rate, the Chinese art market for now seems to be safe enough and doing okay, and there's some good things turning up. And I think in the next year or two, you're going to see a lot of things turn up in the market. You're going to find people that are getting out of collections, people that weren't serious collectors, not real collectors, they were speculators. And I think that they've been trying to sell the stuff now for a few years, for the last 3 or 4 years, and the prices haven't bounced up as high as they wanted. So you had some fairly high-end buy-in rates with a few auctions. But I think in the next year, you're going to see sort of like the automobile industry, how they're going to start really slashing the prices of automobiles because there's so much inventory. I think you're going to start to see a lot of pretty good Asian things starting to turn up over the next 2 years, where people are going to it's either fish or cut bait, one or the other. And I think you're going to see some cutting bait going on to get out of collections that are starting to grow root structures that they can't do much with. So we'll see. You never know, but those are my thoughts. In the past, we've sort of been pretty close to right on things, so I'll stick with that. All right. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And for those of you that watched the watch list video I put up on the Patreon page this week, I'm glad you all liked it. It was a bit longer than usual. I didn't know. So those of you that are over there, that one was about 30 minutes long, and I commented that if these are too long, you let me know. But I get going, and it's fun to go through things and talk about how I pick things that I pick and how I decide what I think of them and how I evaluate the auction house in general and so forth, because it's all stuff you have to do if you want to avoid getting stuck. And thank you for your memberships over there. Thank you very much. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment. And till next time. All right. Bye-bye.